So now that we've put our program inside a Windows container, you have to make a choice here how to edit your content, right? Because when you're doing this, remember that this is still a browser. So if I right click, I can actually view the page source. Okay, so it brings up this, or I can also show the development tools, which is this right there. So I can look at the console and get what I want from there. So you'll see console shows some errors there if there are any errors. Yeah, for some reason there's errors here, which I don't know why, but that's what it is. So you have to decide whether you want to do that here or there, but really at the end of the day it doesn't matter. If you finish up from here, you can always copy the files over to your Windows application and vice versa. So you can edit from here, then if you want to synchronize your files with the old version there. So that's entirely up to you how you want to do it. So what we will do here is, let's start. I prefer to work in the browser, so let's continue working in the browser. Then we're going to move everything over to this when we are done. All right, so for now I'm going to close the Windows application, close that, and then we are back here. So even in the what's this, the folders here, I'm just going to remove the www folder for now. Remove folder from project, don't delete the folder. And we are back to our old files here. So close all that, close all that. There we go. Okay, so it's always good to work from one central place and then transfer your files later, because even when your client asks you to change something, you can just change from your local version and then transfer to the other one when you're done. So what I want us to do here is, I want us to make a receipt printer, because this is the only thing that's remaining. We want to be able to print a receipt. So if you watch closely here, what happens is, once we add some items and then we check out, this is the page that comes up, and then when we click next, it shows us the change. Okay, so that's the change. Now right here, while it's showing us the change, we can put a receipt printer right here so that it prints the receipt, and by the time they click continue here, we are back to the next customer. So right here we can have a window that comes up and then we print it. So because printing from a browser, you have to print a page that actually exists. So what we're going to do to have that happen is to open a window right here, and then that window will contain a receipt, and then we just print that window, and then once we are done printing that window, we can close it. That way it doesn't interfere with the user's normal routine. Now you can have computers that, because the thing is this, when you say print, like if I press Control P right now, it brings up the print page like this. So the way browsers are made is, there's no, you can open this with JavaScript, but I don't know of any way you can actually press buttons here, like print, like to press the actual print button using JavaScript. I think that button is not allowed due to security reasons. So I can open this using JavaScript by just saying window.print, but there's no way to actually print this. But let's just Google that a little bit. Print window. Okay. Window.print options. Yeah. Window.print preview or window print window. Let's see what we get from JavaScript. So window print, or we go to the Mozilla Developer Network. This is a very good website for finding what things can do. So let's see the options on the window.print here. Opens the print dialog. If the document is still loading when the function is called, then the document will finish loading. So this is the syntax, how you write it. And then it doesn't have any options in there. So see also printing, before print, after print. So let's click here on printing. Okay, so what I'm trying to show here is this pop-up on click. What I'm trying to show here is that there's no way to actually print to print a page without actually clicking it, without the user actually clicking the enter button. All right, so moving on, what we need to do is this. Let's come back here. So what I'm going to do is open the home view page here, because this is a page that contains the home view here, and that's where everything really happens. So what I want to do is open a new window here and then have it load some stuff, and then I'll print that stuff. So what to do here is this. Right at the validate amount paid. So once we validate the amount paid, and then we send data to the Ajax to be saved. Now before we clear the items right here, let's do some open receipt page. Okay, open receipt window. So here I'm just going to create a function called print receipt. That would be better, so that we can move this whole thing to a different function. And then the receipt should contain some data. So here we are sending data for the checkup, and this is the data that we are sending. So text items new, that's what we are sending. And what else do we need here? Maybe you may want to write the change on the receipt and the amount paid. This is up to you. Amount is equal to, so we're getting that amount. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll copy this and send in an object there. So once we put two brackets like that, we have an object. So we have amount. Let's put an amount there. Let's put a comma. Let's put the change there. Let's put a comma. And then let's put the data. And let's do that. And data is items new. Where does items new come from anyway? Remove unwanted information. Oh, so we're removing unwanted information and just sending the wanted information. Okay, so instead of removing unwanted information, let's just put everything that is supposed to be there in there. So items new comes from actual items, so let's copy that and let's just put items itself. Let me just remove that. Okay, that's cool. But we need a change. Change is equal to that. So let me copy that change and let me put it here, full colon, put it there. What about the amount that the user has paid? So amount must be higher or equal to total. So amount should be that amount. So as a floating value, let's put that there. Boom. Okay, so we've just created a, you can do this to see it better. So we've added an object here that contains this data that we are sending for printing. Now for now, this function, I just wanted to do one thing. So I'm just going to write the function down here. Maybe let me write it down here. Function, print receipt, that's the function. So I'm going to do that. And then here there's an object that we're going to bring in. So let's use that object. But for now, I just wanted to do a very simple thing. I just wanted to open a window. So I'm just going to say window.open like that. So window.open has a few params, which you can check if you go to JavaScript, developer network again. You can just say window.open and try to figure out what it's talking about. So you can read about it, window.open, what you can put. So you put a URL, you put a target, a text, and then you put Windows features. These things are written down here. They're explained what you can put there in the Windows features. And then there's a good example down here where you have a URL and then you have the handle, and then you have Windows features. The Windows features are like this. That's all there is. So it's equal to pop-up. The following example demonstrates how to implement a pop-up feature. Okay, so that's a pop-up. I have no idea how that is different from any other, but let's try it, shall we? So what I'm going to do is give it a name, a window to open. So in this case, everything goes to the index.php. So I'm just going to do index.php. Let's create a file that we can open here. So I'm going to go to controllers, and here I'm going to create a new file, copy what's in the home and put that in the new file. And wait a minute, you need to be logged in, blah blah blah. Okay, so I don't need any of this here. Let me save this as, say, controller print.php. Okay, there it is, save. And then of course I'm going to need a print.view here. Wait a minute, how are these others? Oh, so require view path access denied, otherwise that's the path to see. Okay, great. So in here I'm going to put that view, and this view is going to be print like that. Okay, so let's come down here to print, to just the views, right click, and let's create the print.view. So I'm going to create, instead of home here, let's put print.view.php. Okay, so right in here I just want to see this print, or I'll just say receipt. I think that's how you write receipt. All right, so now that we are here, so the function, all it does is open a window, and the page name is equal to print. That's all we needed for now. And then let's put a handle. Now the handle shouldn't have spaces according to developer network there, so we're just going to call it the print page like that without leaving anything there. And then some Windows features here. Let's try the pop-up that we saw there and see what happens. So I'm gonna be back here, and let's try this out, shall we? So I'll click, and then let me put 100. And as you can see, there we go. Nothing has happened. Now it says Firefox prevented this site from opening a pop-up window. Okay, so good. Now what you do is you click options and you say allow pop-ups for localhost. So then this is what we get. Now, if you're running your application there, you have to print at least once so that you can allow that in the settings for pop-ups. But I think in the application for the PHP desktop, pop-ups are allowed by default. But in case they are not allowed, you can allow them, and then it's going to show these pop-ups. But I think they're allowed by default. The only problem here is that this pop-up is too big. So let's reduce it in size. Now, while I'm designing this pop-up, I can instead avoid having to type in some data every time. So what I can do is just do this, say print a receipt, just make it run immediately the page loads, and then I'll put an empty object in here just so there's something there. Okay, so that we just see what's going on there. Okay, so if I now refresh, you see it loads the pop-up immediately. But let's reduce it in size. We can do that using the features here. So instead of that, let's just put features like width, so we can tell it what width we want. So I want a 300 pixel. You can also specify height, that's up to you. I don't know if you can say max height or just say height. Let's try 400 pixels, but the height, maybe don't set it because that can depend on the contents of the page. So let's remove that. And then you can set the top is equal to, oh, by the way, don't use that, it's equal to. So you can set how far from the top it should show, or how how far from the left it will show, so that you specify exactly where you want it to show. Now these are not important because you can do that in the PHP desktop. In the settings, there's a place where you add settings for your pop-up. Let me show you that, just a minute. So if I go to settings JSON here, there's main window, there's pop-up window. So you can set an icon for the pop-up windows, fixed title if you want, and then you can also center related to parent, that's true, and then the default size is this. So these things are already set for the pop-up window, so you don't need to really set them here. Maybe the width, yes, you can set. Okay, so for now, let's refresh and see what happens. So that's how the pop-up window now looks like. Okay, it's much smaller, looks like a receipt thing. Now the user wants to interact with this, so it doesn't really matter how it looks like. It's just there to bring up the receipt, and then once things are printed, the window can close. All right, so what we'll do is let's give it some actual data and do something with that data. So since we're going to be sending an object with data here with the print receipt, so we have amount, we have change, and we have some actual data. So we already have a loop here that goes through the data that we had. So I'm just going to copy this and bring it right about here. Okay, print, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to just paste everything here. Actually, we don't need a loop here. What we need is to put the data in here in the get variable, so that we can actually send it that way to the page as it's being opened. So what I'll do here, I'm just going to put and then put some variables here and say vars. So what I'll do is I'm just going to say vars like this. Vars is equal to, or we can call it params, doesn't matter. Like that, is equal to the object that we will send, but we want to JSON dot stringify, so that we convert that object into a string. That way we can put it in the URL, and then it's going to be like this, and blah blah blah. So I'm just going to call it and data is equal to, like that, so that we can carry the data. Okay, or we can call it vars, doesn't matter. So and vars is equal to, and then we'll put whatever the data is from there as a string there, so that it's carried to the page. Okay, so now that we've done this, let's see what else can we do here. Let's try window.close. Okay, so let's see if it opens and closes immediately. So refresh the page. It opens, but it did not close. Let's see if there's any error here where it doesn't recognize anything. Why does it even show this? Let me make sure that the console.log stuff is removed from any handle result functions. There it is. So let's remove that. That's what's showing all that content there. Okay, so there's window.open, but window.close does not work. Anyway, we'll figure it out. But for now, what I want is to show the data that comes in there from the other side. So what I'll do is I'll remove this that shows the print thingy, and then go to the actual print page, which is the view page here. So everything is going to be in the get variable. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to put some PHP tags like so, and then what I'll do is I'm just going to say object or obj is equal to the get variable. Let's look for vars in there. Okay, and then what we'll do is we're going to do a JSON decode. Okay, So we want to decode the JSON data, and let's put true there so that it's an array. And then what I'll do here is I'm just going to say print readable obj. So this is all I'm doing on this page. I just want to print what's inside the get variable. Now sometimes vars may be empty, so this will cause an error. So what we'll do is this. We're just going to say vars is equal to, and we'll do that, and then put question marks and put a no, or let's put an empty string instead. So if it doesn't exist, then it's going to set vars to an empty string. So I'll copy this and put vars there instead. Okay, very good. So from there, let's look at what will happen. So let me close this, let me refresh the data, do that, and let's check out, and then press enter. And as you can see, this is the data that we get showing on this receipt. Okay, so this is good because it shows that we are able to send data to the receipt page. So at least we know the amount we paid. The change was 14.1, which is right there. And then the array of data here. So there's crisps that we got, good milk, and biscuits. So all these items are there. And then you can add extra data that you want, maybe the organization's name, etc., etc. In order to do that, we simply need to go to the home page. And then when we are sending the data, like here we put amount change, we can also put the company. Okay, company. What company name is this? So do we have the company name here? My point of sale, or whatever it is. Where did I put that? What's going on? Okay, so company name right there. So instead I can just write it manually. I'll say my point of sale. That's my company name. So you can put all the details that you want there so that they can be used on the print page here. Okay, so in the next video, let's design the print page. Since we have all the data that we need, now we can actually put that data to good use.